towards the second half, or getting towards the end of the Maimah of Anochi, and my memory tells me that we were holding on Omid Kofov. Yeah, and Omid Kofov is a good way to start, because Kofov is the Indian from Shem Havaya, and Shem Havaya is Tiferes, B'Kol Mokeh, and Tiferes is leading this evening into, I can't say what it is, because then it's Chashashat maybe being Yetzer with the Spirit. So we haven't counted Sphira yet, so I can't say what it's leading into, but anyway, it's Tiferes.
So tonight is Beis Iyar, Hatavshin Samech Tes. We're in the Rebbe Rashab.
It's Iyar Legimel.
Or Legimel Iyar, Hatavshin Samech Tes. We're in the Rebbe Rashab's Samech Tes, Dibur Anochi, and page
Omid Kofov.
Omid Kofov.
Thanks. All right. We were dealing with the union of Shemos, and for our purposes so far in the Maimah, we've dealt with the difference between what we call Shem HaToyah and Shem HaKinui V'Piula. We use the expression Kinui V'Piula more or less biyacha, even though they're really two different madregas and Shemas. And the Shema Etzem we mentioned here towards the end. Now we haven't gone into a detailed description and biur in the Indian from Shema Etzem, which is really given in other Mekaymas for this. Thanks, Shema. But we're going to deal with it, well, we did deal with it here at the beginning of Omid Kofov. And we saw that the Shem HaToyah was a description of the Etzem. However, it was a description of the Etzem mitzad the Kli. And we saw that when we give somebody a Shem HaToyah, whether it be in Amido or whether it be in the Indian of Moichin, like a Chocham, then we're talking about the Toyah is describing the high quality of the preparation of the Kli to function outside Hayesa Ta'iv in the best possible way, in order to be Mekabel the Iyar B'Pnimiusay. And therefore the Ike Toyah is a description of the Tiv, of the high quality and the Hachona of the Kli, of not of the Iyar so much Animshech Kli. And when we say that somebody's Hashem Chocham, Hashem HaToyah, we mean that he's worked so hard that he's Kli, B'Yagia and Avedis Atzmei B'Meshech Ribu Zman. His Kli is a Kli Muchan L'Kabel Kol Minei Chachmas, and to be maskil or mischachim bohem al yedei that the Kli will be mekabel the Iyar. But the Iyar is given from the nefesh into the kelim, and the Kli is kilo mekabel. Inyone is that if it be given inyonim, then it'll be matzlir behem b'derek yagia ve'efet. What that's the inyan of a chacham who's able through his effort to be matzlir. That's what we mean Shem HaToyah in the Indian of. When we go down lower into the Shem HaKinui, the Shem HaPiula, and we saw that was how a chacham uses his chachma to be mashpia michutz l'kli. And Aleph we saw that he can be mashpia, or he can be michutz le'etzem hakli, Dahainu, that he's not really shaykh mitzad hakeli shelo to inyane chokma, but he has a kli that's able to, as it were, store inyane chokma, as we saw, and he can be considered a chokma in a practical sense, because he somehow or another stores away certain deep muskalas that were given to him over there. Be'etzem adova nivdal mimenu, they're not really his mahus etzem akli moichin shelo. And like we said, he can be described as a mensch with sicklium inside his bag. We sort of, he can have a, how do you call it, amongst scholars, be'am tachosei, be'kli am tachosei. And then we saw there's an even more chitonius inyan, which has got to do with ashpor el azulas. There are certain people that are able to use any seichel they were given to bring it over to another. To bring it over to another person and to be megale in yoni seichel to the mekabel, to a talmud or to katanim mehem be'erev v'chayitza v'zeh. And we saw that was a shem api. That's a shem api ula. And that's only michutz le'etzem legamrei. It doesn't necessarily indicate that he's a chacham be'etzem shem atoya, or he's called a chacham because he has an ability. It's at the kli that any Indian was given to him, he can give it over to another person. But I've dafkir that he's a great chacham b'shem atoya be'atzmei. He's been given certain information and told to give it over to the Zulas, and he has a chush b'zeh. So this is zicher, as we pointed out, I think here in the Maimar, this is a dover hamuvan, that somebody that's a chacham b'etzem shem, b'shem atoya, in the usage of the kli ad tachlis, that's a good kli and a prepared kli to be mekabel and to be mishachid with any chacham that will be given to it, then a person like that is also, if he's mashpia, he's also a very good one, and it's noticeable in the ashpah that's coming from a kli muchan v'naila b'yoseh in the union of Kabbalah Chachma. That's what we see, that a chacham toiv v'naila, he's mare koiche when he gives over the inyan of an ashpah. But the etzem inyan of the ashpah is another inyan in his chachma. It's not that because he's a chacham b'shem atoya, therefore he's a mashpia. There are two different inyonim of it. Usually somebody who's a shema chacham b'shem atoya is also, he will show that koich in his ashpah. But I've tafkid that it's a hechreya, because two separate koiches or two separate shemas. And we've seen that koiches and shemas have a connection biyachim. And so those are the kelim, those are the shemas we've seen up to now. We've seen the inyan for shema atoya, which is a description of the etzem ability of a mensch to be mekabel, b'toich klei moiche in yoni chochma, and to be meshachid with them, and alidei ribuya shkida with the kli, to make the kli into the best possible kli, to be mekabel in a high madrega, and that's a toya, shema toya. Shema kinui is like almost like a nickname. It's not really that he is a chacham be'emes, but he's got the ability to store or to hear a thing and leave it in his mind and eventually use it or give it out in some way or another. And then we saw that Shema Pi'ula is the ability to take any prat in seichel that he may have gained in his keli, either through learning from others or being given the information or reading the and he's able to give it over very capably to a smaller body in Chochmah, that he should be able to understand it and get a grasp and start his way also in the inyan for Chochmah. That's called Shema Pi'ura, and that's got Pi'ika to do with the inyan for Nashpoah. Now, at the beginning of this Omud, we met up with the inyan from a Chocham who's Al Shem Chochmosei Be'etzem. And we saw that borders on, if it's not completely, the concept of Shem Ha'etzem. And we saw that Shem Ha'etzem comes mitzad the inyan of Iyar Seichel, Iyar HaNefesh, which gives out the inyan of Seichel from the koiches HaMakoiriyim of Chochmah V'Seichel in Iyar and not Keli. And therefore Iyar being Me'ein HaMoyer, but the Iyar HaChochmah, this is Me'ein Etzem Koyach Chochmosei. That Etzem Koyach HaChochmah Sheba Adam shines forth in this Iyar, and it's all a question, usually speaking, of what do the Kalim do. So somebody who's got a very good Kli, he's able to take it in a very high measure, we just saw. Somebody who's got less is not able to take it. Others don't really gain much from the Iyar HaSeichel, which shines fine from the etzem hanefesh because they don't have any kli. So kelim nit v'chulu. A chacham b'yemes mitad shem ha'etzem, he's maskil bli kli. He's maskil how it is in the oyer atzmoi. He says well a mailam and we did it kelim, and the etzem oyer a chachma is made by him, and he's kilo teifes or all those inyanim in a even from l'maylam mi'akbara, because he doesn't really need the inyan kli, and that's a dvar pele. Because normally speaking, all koyches function to a kli. A kli, what is teifes, magbil, mechaven, and ma'atim, as you might say, the whole inyan of a koyach hanefesh. Of somebody who's a koyach be'etzem koyach chokmah, say, he's the oyer which is meir from the etzem makoyer aseichel in the koyach hayule atzmi of the nefesh, then it's meir. That oil, and he's maskil those inyonim how they are mitzad bli tzerech el kli beklal. Therefore, he can be maskil inyonim in a even mufla, completely different than what the normal seder of seichel and understanding is, and therefore he can give out inyonim what people who work mitzad the normal seder find it hard to beklal be masik. What is he really saying? And it's not necessary always for him to bring it down into a lot of, or for him, it's not necessary to bring it down into a whole series of ordered explanations, because he's just able to understand it, mamish k'moi shuhu mitzad ha'oyer ha'atzmi of the nefesh. And therefore, he has everything in a gilui otzum kilu l'mayla mikli. And that's called a chacham al shem etzem chachmasei, or etzem koyach chachmasei. And mamela, that's a shem ha'etzem. If you call a person like that a chacham, then that's what we call shem ha'etzem. You're talking about the etzem of the koyach being a gilui oyer from the etzem makeh of the koyach. And normally speaking, what happens is that oyer has to be somehow or another mugbal alidei kelim. Yeah, and has to be limited, and has to undergo tzimtzumim, b'derech ha'yirida v'hislapshus, in different forms like we saw before. Here he gets it directly as a gilui oyer atzmi on the makeh of the seichel in etzem hanefesh, and that's why he's called a chacham al shem er chachmasei be'etzem. Now we were holding a little bit after that, but in order to sort of get into the whole general flow of the argument, we'll just make a brief chazara on that in.
Is there such a thing as giving over and understanding the two different kokos?
Yeah?
To understand to be maskil and to mashpia something, is that two different kokos?
Yeah, sure.
Is there such a thing as a...
No, we're not talking about... He went miles away from mashpah. Here's somebody that he's masik inyonim li'atzmai. Not to Inen Ashpo. Inen Ashpo is bichutz la'etzem altogether. Inen Ashpo is Hashem HaPiula. That's all the Ashpo level. Here we're talking about he just within himself. And same with the Hashem HaToya. Nothing to do with Ashpo. Hashem HaToya has nothing to do with Ashpo. Neither Hashem HaEtzem. He's called a Chacham al Shem Oyer Chachmasei Be'etzem. For who? It's about the fourth line down from the top. והוא שאויר הסייכל שלו בעצם הוא בהמשך הטויבה, that the oir הסייכל בעצם, meaning the oir העצמאי from the koyach המקוירי, they call it the עצם שורש of seikel in the עצם הנפש, is hu בהמשך הטויבה. It's coming in a good derivation outwards, ובכויך להשכילו ולשכחם בכל דבר חוכמה ושכל מצד עצם אויר השכל שלו. זה מצד העיר, לא מצד הכלים. הם אומרים, he's למעלה מהכלים, and therefore he's כמעט בלי הגבלת. דמה שכלי מויכוי מוכנים בטוב והם הכלים לקבל, הרי מכל מוקים, הרי הוא תופס באויר על ידי הכלי. Normally a chacham who's good mitzad the kelim, and like we just saw in the Shema Toya, what all the kelim are very well prepared, and that's the Shema Toya, is nonetheless, when they take the oil of that particular koyach, in our case it's in a chokhmah, then the kli is teufus bia oil, or rather, the Adam is teufus in the oil through his kli, loy by etzemamish, ki imasha kli teufus as a oil. If kli is already teufus the oil, then that means that it limits it some way, it brings it down in some way into a certain limitation. Well, that's the idea of tefisa. So that oifenat tefisa, and what you might call the edelkeit and the dakas of that tefisa, that's dependent on the gear that he had before in the keli. And that depends on what sort of a shema toya as a chacham he's gained. If a loch ain't tzorich yegiya v'amoke b'klei moichoi, v'yoz davki yaschu v'yishchachim. D'liyei shesibas as kola imitzad ha'kli shetefes oyer. Kol way that he's chacham in this way, he's a chacham in shema toya, then everything's dependent on that kli. Has he worked hard with his kli? Has he made his kli elevated and edel? So then he'll be teifus in oil, and the oil will be mishached with the kli. Tzrichim yagia lahalis klei siklei oil zachochom. In such a case, you need a lot of work to elevate the kelim of your seichel, or to purify them lezachochom ukahai gavne. Similar to that, ad shetikabo es hoher. And that's the chacham b'shem ha'toya, and that's the way in inverted commas, anoshim regilim, that's the way they function. However, our chacham b'yetzem, emes a chacham that's not b'shem ha'toya, nor b'shem ha'etzem, shemaskil mischakim mitzad etzem oyer chachmos, shebechol inyan nimshech etzlei navia rabo, how do you call it? A tremendous flow and a tremendous, what you might call welling, a springing forth in his mind. How do you call it? With tremendously profound concepts. It doesn't it's not dependent on his effort anymore. It just flows in his mind. Ma'atzor, without a power of prevention. It just goes on its own. Now that doesn't mean to say that he hasn't made any gear, but he's already prepared so well. He's kelim that he's able now to function beyond the kelim altogether, and the etzem flow of the sikli is not dependent in his gear. Mashenkin, somebody who's still working with the kli, then it's dependent how much he works hard with the. It depends how much he works hard with the kli. Over the etzem flow is an avia rabo, and that's not visited by your gear. And a sikli im heim beoifen acher legamre. It's another type of reasoning altogether. Shehem bechinas oimek opnimis ha'inyan yoser or bechinas hafshota. It's in a state of abstractity, meaning not brought down in any way into a form of martial or any necessity of bringing the seichel into some form of levush, that it should be able to be understood more, but he understands it absolutely kamoishahu, without any literally dressing up in any form of levush. That's what's called hafshota, and he called abstractity from levush. He just gets the etzem asichli im kamoisha shaheim. If you're a person that you're still into kelim and you're still into working with your kli, or a person, you hear how he gives forth sichlim, you won't figure, you won't really be able to grasp the oifen of his kavanah, what he's really meaning, what he's really having to say. Like we told you guys the story of the Rogachover once. He said what he's going to say for these bochrim is anyway nista. Therefore they can consider him a rabbi if they want, because what he's going to say is nista. It's another Indian altogether. It's in another level, in another oifen, and it's well known the famous Shiloh, what occurs when it gets to the Arizal, that even though he taught so much unbelievable Chokhmah, Panimi years before he never wrote anything down. There's only one letter that the Arizal wrote to the Beis Yosef. He was his Mechutin letter, became Mechutonim. The Arizal wrote to the Beis Yosef a Shiloh in Nigla about something to do with earning something on a certain deal with a ship and a whole mess. They asked him a Shiloh al Pi Dini Mominus at Chosh Mishpat. They asked him a brief Shiloh. As far as I know, that's one of the only written documents that they have from the Arizal in his actual Ksav Yad. But it's printed in the Shilohs of Jews from the Beis Yosef, which is called Avkas Reichel. It's called, I say for Shilohs of Jews, Avkas Reichel. It's taught that there occurs the actual Shiloh that was asked and what the Beis Yosef answered him. And the amazing thing is that the Beis Yosef says he doesn't really understand, the Shiloh. It's quite clear what the psak is. That, you don't need to really make a big show out of it, but the Arizal nonetheless, but to be sure, he didn't want to Cholil do it in it, might have a show of taking some money, Shaloi or what's not due to him, and so he asked the Beis Yosef, as far as I know, the sign from the Einik, it's one of the only documents of writing from the Arizal. So I thought to gewaltige Schale, why didn't he write anything down? Why was it nicht geschrieben? Rabbeinu Chaim Vital asked him once. He asked him, why is it that he doesn't write anything? So the Rizal answered, every time he's asked a question, he gets into that the flow is so immense that he's not able to keep up with it. That the flow is just so unbelievable. The Naviya, he used the word Naviya, that the Naviya is so immense that there's no way he could be Matzamtzim into Ksav, because if you bring something into Ksav, you've got to bring it down into Kelim, and his whole way of understanding is completely little Milam here. A Kelim and the fire, he's not able to, that's why he doesn't write anything, because there's no way that he can get it into Oisias. And therefore, the only people who wrote the Kisvei Arizal are Mekablim from him. The Rabbeinu Chaim Vital was a Mekabel, and certain other people, they wrote things that they believed that they were Mekabel to the Emes al Choponim, that's what the Arizal said. Mamish, 100%, 1,000% sure, we can't really be. But then again to the Rabbeinu Chaim Vital, because the Arizal was saying Mechiyadar, so it's very hard to know. And therefore, there are different schools of people who claim that they represented the Teres Arizal better than Ploini, and so on. There were different divisions amongst the great Talmidim, because the Arizal himself wasn't able to bring anything into writing.
Two questions. Number one, that document that you speak of for the Arizal wrote the Beis Yosef, it exists in its original form. The written document still exists. The written document still exists from the Arizal.
It must exist somewhere. Yeah, I imagine it does in the record of the historical collections or something. It probably does. Yeah.
And question number two is, if Arizal couldn't bring his seichel to writing, how could he speak? How could he bring it into words?
He had very great trouble doing it, and therefore he always had to try and find a kli. It's written that he had to try and find a kli to talk with the Talmidim. Sometimes he had to be Mishiageya. That was a tremendous effort for him just to talk out what he really wanted to say. And it's written that he had to be Mishiageya b'miyuchad. It always written about the Baal Shem Tov, that the Baal Shem Tov on Shabbos, it was very, very hard for him to talk b'klal in anything, how much more so Divrei Torah, because he was 2/3 Lamayla and only 1/3 Lamata. So it's written that he had to make tremendous effort to find oisius on Shabbos. He wasn't able to. It was very, very difficult for him to speak. In the middle of the week, it was the other way around. He was 1/3 Lamayla and 2/3 Lamata. So therefore, it was easier for him to find. What it comes out to, Maskona Lapoil, is that what these people said is, it's only a trueness of Maisos in a way for what they were really experiencing. You understand? The same with the Magid. The Magid also didn't write anything. There's nothing be'etzem aksab from the Magid. And also, even the Alter Rebbe. I mean, the amazing thing is that the Alter Rebbe, the only thing we have big stuff from the Alter Rebbe is with the Tanya. And that took him 20 years. I mean, to actually prepare the Tanya, Lidfus, it took a huge amount of time, the Alter Rebbe. All the Likutei Torah and all the other Maimorim that we have from the Alter Rebbe are all Hanochas. They're all Hanochas. And they're not really the Etzem Loshen, the Alter Rebbe. Apart from in Torah, there's one part there in Chai Sorah that's bought a whole piece where it's written Loshen Admor Be'atzmeh, that the Alter Rebbe actually wrote that little piece on it in his own Loshen. I would say it was very, very difficult for these great people. And the father, the Mittler Rebbe, you'll notice that his writing goes with a parabola, and I say that because he wrote with tremendous speed, and that was the way that he could write fast. And I said that when he started, in those days he used to write with ink, with wet, heavy ink. As that when he used to write what's called Beugen papier. That was like these big pieces that we have nowadays that you use in a fax or something, like big pieces of paper. It was called Beugen papier. Big Viertel, it was called, like quarter size. It was a big size paper. And when the Mittler Rebbe finished the whole page, the ink was still wet at the beginning.
Wow.
The ink was still wet at the beginning. He used to write with such speed. So they said, so he says, otherwise he's going to lose it. If he doesn't write at tremendous speed, he'll lose the whole flow. And that's why in the middle of a Maimah, the Mittler Rebbe used to stop and he would say, Shah, Shah, even though everybody was completely quiet. You could hear a needle drop. There was a big campaign in Lubavitch in those days. We weren't allowed to do that. There was this absolute quiet, all these chassidim, absolute still when the Mittler Rebbe said. And nonetheless, he would stop in the middle and he would say, Shah, Shah. So everybody looked up that they couldn't see anybody making any noise. So they asked him once, why does he stop and shout, Shah, Shah. So he says that he's talking to himself. He's trying to stop the Naviya, and the Naviya is beating at his head so much that he has to say, keep quiet, let me talk. In other words, he was talking to himself.
But by the Rebbe, by our Rebbe, you see completely the opposite. I mean, of course,
the Rebbe was in control. The Rebbe was the same koiches of all the Rebbeim, and yet he was able to remain, It's like they say, the Alter Rebbe with the Maggid, They say that a lot of the Talmidim, when the Maggid used to speak, a lot of the Talmidim would push the bells would break. And they would have to run out. Yeah, it happened a lot when they heard the Maggid. That was the unbelievable thing.
Why?
They had such a beetle to the Maggid. It's not B'derchato. The whole thing is this little gamri the Maggid. You're talking about Gioni Oilom, these people. And certainly the Alter Rebbe was always able to be Eimed Alom. The Alter Rebbe was never suffered from that. That he was always able to stand and listen to what the Maggid was saying, Bli ha-toifah hazayis. Well, there were some of them that pushed, they couldn't take it. Not always maybe, but on many occasions. Even if they heard the Maggid coming, even if they heard him coming, some of them had the problem. I feel some gehört him coming. Yeah.
Well, also the Shulchan Aruch is written by the Alter Rebbe. Right?
Yeah?
The Shulchan Aruch Harav is also written by the Alter Rebbe, right? Because he said the only
The
Shulchan Aruch Harav is also written by the Alter Rebbe, right?
Yeah, Shulchan Aruch, yeah.
Because he also knows the
Oh, that's another field altogether. That's halacha. That's the Alter Rebbe, yeah, for sure. And so is the Hoiroas in the Siddur, the little Hoiroas in the Siddur, also from the Alter Rebbe. All the Maimorim in the Siddur are not from the Alter Rebbe himself. They're from the Mittler Rebbe. They're from the Mittler Rebbe. And the Likutei Torah, that's a combination of the Alter Rebbe's brother, the Mittler Rebbe, some of it, and the Tzemach Tzedek. But it's not the Alter Rebbe's loss. The Likutei Torah, not the Alter Rebbe's loss.
What about the Siddur with Tach? The Alter Rebbe Siddur with all the Maimorim. The Alter Rebbe Siddur with the Maimorim.
Yeah, but that's not the Alter Rebbe's loss. That's the Mittler Rebbe. Almost all the Maimorim there, except for one or two brief ones, they're all the Rebbe's Hanochas. Yeah. So we see that all these great people, and the truth is that there was once a Ma'aseh which tend to indicate that the Rebbe Melech HaMashiach also didn't really prepare a lot of what he said, but he started on what he knew he wanted to say, and then it would just go and develop in all sorts of directions. Was it one of the Heichofes says that there was once on Parsha Nosei, which is a big parsha, there's a lot to talk about in Parsha Nosei, after Shvuot. Many, many years ago when the Rebbe didn't bring every Shabbos. And there was a Yid that was very familiar with the Rebbe, he had a very close kesher. A Balbatish Yid from England, his name was Rabbi Avrom Yofi was his name. Abraham Jaffe, they called him, Avrom Yofi. He had a very amazing kesher with the Rebbe. So he was by the Rebbe after Shvuos, and he came over after davening. On Shabbos, he came over to the Rebbe, and he said that the Rebbe said, we're a lot of guests, and we're here for Shabbos, and next week we're already, we won't be here anymore, as we want the Rebbe should make a Fabrenga. So the Rebbe liked this person very much, the Rebbe was very taken, and the Rebbe said, okay, we'll have a Fabrenga. So that was at the end of davening, and the Rebbe went up to Israel, came down at the usual time of Fabrenga, came down at 1:30, and there was this huge Sikhes and Idionim and a Maimon Chassidus. Great Fabrenga on Shabbos, and Nos is already into the summer, it's already longer, funny time. The Rebbe just made Kiddush as he always did on wine, had a little bit of Mazenas. It's a Gigangan. So from that, the Chassidim want to say that the Rebbe also, even though he looked all very, very, sort of Masuda and Mukbal, but it was also like that. But nonetheless, it was sort of, it was Bekeli Masra.
This is Nevuah?
Huh?
This is the Darga of Nevuah?
No. The Madrega of Nevuah is not a man. The Madrega of Nevuah is Re'iyah be'elokus. When we say here the word Neviah, we're with the ayin, not the aleph. Here we're talking about the flow. Nevuah is another, Kamavuah in Tanya, in Iyar HaKodesh in chapter 17. If you look over there, you'll see the Rebbe's must be the difference between chapter 19. Either 17 or 19, he's must be over there the difference between Chokhmah and Nevuah. Achoponim, that gives us some picture of this whole idea of a Chocham mitzad etzem ha'oyer. He's not able to keep up with it himself. He's not able to he's massacred all the Inyanim, but even Acher legamri. And that's close to this whole concept of Re'iyah. It's very close to the whole concept of Re'iyah. And that's what the Alter Rebbe brings in the Likutei Torah, in the Drushim of Shvi Shal Pesach. He brings the Maisa there with the Arizal. You know the Maisa, what he brings over there, the Alter Rebbe. You're familiar with it? You don't know the Maisa. I tell you all these stories, we're not really getting very far, but basically, the Arizal didn't used to receive guests so easy. It was very hard to just come up to the Arizal's house and see him. There came this big rov to Tzfas, away from abroad, to see the Arizal and speak with him. So he arrived in Tzfas on Erev Shabbos. And he felt that Erev Shabbos wasn't a time to come around being involved with a great person like the Arizal to interfere with his Erev Shabbos. So he decided he would go Friday night. Then he thought Friday night, it's time you have to make Kiddush, the Mishpacha, maybe he would be interfering if he came. The Arizal used to go out into the field, and then he would come back, and then he comes to Seder. So he thought the best time was Shabbos afternoon. It's already a long Shabbos. It was Pasha Bolach Bilon, as they stated, Pasha Bolach Bilon. Right? That's already in the middle of the summer, so he thought he'd come around Shabbos afternoon, and then he won't be disturbing anybody and be able to talk with the Arizal. Comes into the house, and they say to him that the Arizal's having a Shabbos Menuchas HaTzoraim, he's having a shlof. He said, give out. He's waited all this time, he's reckoned everything out. He didn't take that into account, maybe the Arizal shloft. So he said, can I just take a quick look at the holy Tzura? Can I just see him for a minute? I've come all the way up here. I've been calculating this thing so carefully. So the Bnei Baya said, yeah, you can. We'll open the door and you can look in and you'll just see. So they opened the door gently and there was Iyar on a couch. And this guy looks in and he sees that his lips are moving. He saw that Iyar's lips are moving. So he says, he must be learning up there and what's he doing over there? So he waited till they walked away. I thought he was leaving. And then he ducked into the room and he ran over and he put his head down alongside the Iyar, thinking that he would be able to hear what the Iyar was saying. All of a sudden the Iyar wakes up. You understand? Here he is bending down right along. There's a COVID. So the Iyar looked at him and said, what are you doing here? So a million times Mechila, and he asked for Mechila, and he explained what he was doing. And then he said, maybe maybe the Iyar could be so kind as to tell me, I saw your lips were moving, what was it you were learning? Or what was it who were you talking with? What were you saying? So the Iyar said to him, he said, how manly. You have to believe me that if I were to talk for 60 or 80 years, Samech Tes, if I was to talk for 60 or 80 years, I wouldn't be able to give you over what I was just learning how. I wouldn't be able to do it. So the guy heard that. He went out of his kelim altogether. And he said, well, I'm totally sorry. Sorry if you disturbed the Iyar's time. You're really taking away unbelievable things. So he said, could I make a time to come and see you when I won't be, disturbing you in such a way? So the Iyar said, okay, tomorrow's Sunday, come to Chesed. And he left, because he was just absolutely, exploded. 60 or 80 years it would take him to give over what he... So the Alter Rebbe said, it's not possible for somebody to talk for 60 or 80 years. What's it? What did he mean with that? So the Alter Rebbe said, Elamai, it's very similar to what we're learning here. He said, normally the Inyan from Asogas, Aseichel, is connected with Kelim. And Kelim is connected with Bina, and Bina's got to do with Samech and with Pei. It would just go on, without end, mitadin and the Kelim. But the Iyar meant to say with that his even Halimud was an even show Re'iyah. And he saw in Yonim Be'Re'iyah. But when you've seen in Yonim like that, on such a high madrega, you can't get it down into easy. It just doesn't come down into normal. Therefore he said, maybe if I was able, I might be able to talk for 80 years, then I wouldn't be able to give over everything, but something maybe I could give over. So the Alter Rebbe says that was the Iyar, that he was the mamuta between the Olam ad Yemois Mashiach and the Gilu, which is going to be on the day Yemois Mashiach, which will be the Inyan from Re'iyah, that Mashiach will learn Inyan Re'iyah in Koloam. And the Alter Rebbe says because it's going to be trillions of people. I mean, all the people that are going to stand up, all the Oves, Moshe Rabbeinu, and all the Chachmi, all being in Gan Eden, they're all going to come down into Gufim, and everybody's going to be in Gufim. How's Moshiach going to teach so many people at one go? And first, as the Alter Rebbe, he'll teach B'derech Re'iyah, but the whole way Moshiach will teach will be in another Oven L'gam, maybe Oven Acher, and it will be in an Oven for me, and everybody will just sort of see what Moshiach is trying to teach them. And therefore, the Arizal was the beginning of that process. The Arizal was the beginning. He was Kilo Me'ain Yemois Mashiach. So, comes along the Rebbe Melech Mashiach, on that Inyan, and the Rebbe said, once Achron Shal Pesach, the Rebbe at Kizar. And the Rebbe said that was by the Arizal, that was a Me'ain, that itself is only a Me'ain. It's not really mamish the Inyan of how it's going to be liot, because it was still in the realm of spirituality. It was still in the realm that the Arizal saw it, but nobody else did. and it wasn't in the Ayin HaGashmi, it was like in a Ayin von Rias Ein HaSeichel B'Madrega HaKi Gavoya. However, when Mashiach comes, then Kol Klal Yisrael are going to actually see B'Riya Gashmi is who she is. That we're going to see with the Ayin HaGashmi Elikus Mamish Alidei Mashiach. So therefore the Rebbe says that Mashiach will be even greater than that Re'iyah of their Arizal. As I said to the Rebbe, in a famous beer the Rebbe gave on that old piece about this famous master with the Arizal. I mean, it's very similar to what we're talking about here, that the Arizal experienced all these inyanim in the etzem koyach of the koyach haki elyonim bli kelim. It's not shayt to kelim. Therefore he said, hey or samach shona in kelim wouldn't manage this, because it's got nothing to do with kelim. It's l'mayla legamri mea kelim. And why did he say samach or shmoinim? I mean, if samach is not shmoinim, if shmoinim then samach soviet. Therefore, something is not to a samach. So the place where the Alter Rebbe brings it, and he says it's like two madregas mitzadbina. It could be either samach or could possibly be. Anyway, en karamacham lehikonin slazeh. Of a nimtzah, if he said that there's people, and that's what's called a chacham. The etzem koyach chachma, in the etzem, and that is the highest ability at Bias HaMashiach that a human Yalud Isha, a created man, can actually understand. That's the highest possible in. And therefore we find that the great Chachamim, that's written by the to Reb Meir, for example. The Gemara brings a Masech Tes in dort. It's written that Rebbe said about Reb Meir, that why was he such a great chacham that he learned Shas Reb Meir was darshaning me'achurav. He stood behind Reb Meir, and he said, why am I greater than everybody else? I stood behind Reb Meir and I was mekavel Reb Meir, and he said, Shaloi hoyu ko chacham Yisrael yechilim reides l'soif daitei. He said people couldn't get to the end of the opinion of Reb Meir. Whenever he said it, he couldn't sort of find where you were really going. You know, he couldn't get to the bottom of it. Or they all expressed in English, they couldn't really get to the bottom of it. It's Mamish Dosa Tolosan at the Gemara. Yeah? So it's also Mavur considered. Because Reb Meir was the inyan from another oifen altogether that was etzem koyach chochmas. In fact, even Rebbe said that when he was young, he wasn't quite up to that. You understand? He was mekabel mi'achurov, and that's why he was there to so much chochm. And it's another gather altogether. And why we discussed once when we had a shir here, that one of the dugmoyes of that in our time and age was the Rogachover Gaon. He was like a dugmula there, and that's what he meant. That's what he said. That if I'll talk for these pochen, it's anyway nista. Even if I'll talk nigla, it's anyway nista. Because it will be talking mitzad etzem koyach hachok. I mean, I think that's given a bit of a span of the whole inyan we're trying to deal with here. And it's very rare. And somebody said to me the other night, we're talking about the Rebbe, I was discussing with the meaning about the Rebbe, and they said to me about a certain person, Ployne Ben, he was also, this and that. So I said, yeah, I mean, he was a chacham. But I said, Gabi the Rebbe, it's like an ant, like Gabi a mountain. So he was very furious. How dare you say that? I said, because it's another oifen altogether. It's another ball game. It's just completely another. It's very difficult, but you start to describe to people, and they begin to chap a little bit. What is really the Mahu Havdil. And the amazing thing is, a few hours later, I looked in the Beis Mashiach. Usually I don't have time to read the Beis Mashiach very much. I bring down a Maimon in the latest Beis Mashiach that some Rav or somebody was in the Yechidus with the Rebbe. And he said that there was a certain person in his generation that was the Godel Hadoyer. He was a literature. So he said to the Rebbe that he met this person, and he was the Godel Hadoyer. So the Rebbe said to him, Godel Hadoyer? The Rebbe said, a Godel, yeah. He said, yeah, he was great. He said, oh, but the Godel Hadoyer is mein schwer. The Rebbe said, the Godel Hadoyer, he said, that's my father. No, it's two different things. A Godel, yeah, he was great. He said, the Godel Hadoyer, the one who's the Indian who sees everything that the Torah needs, he said, that's a mein schwer. So anybody knows the Rebbe, knows that whenever he wanted to say anything about himself, he put it in the Friedrich Rebbe. So both things are true, the Friedrich Rebbe for sure. And further, the Rebbe was the follow on, how do you call it, Biesa says or Biesa, Biesa says or Biesa Oz. How do I know it? Because the Rebbe himself said it in Chof Chesimen, Toshin Nun Aleph. Oh, gewalt. Right. Anyway, there's a saying in the Gemara that Gedol Shimushi Shal Torah Yosem Milimuda. When you talk around about the Inyonim and you describe Inyonim, well, that's even greater than the actual learning. They stayed in the Gemara. In Brachas stuff Zion. It's in reference to Eloi Novi, mit Alicia, and the ganze Aricha saying. All right. So says the Rebbe that basically is amukis beli shum yigia ki meilu humamel, it flows. Basically heim boifen achel gamrei. Shem b'chinas oimek upnimius o inyan yoisa upchinas afshota. They're in a state of absolute abstractity, the way people normally understand a seichel. O kamoi chokma shloimoi. Shanim shakloi shefa chokma el yoina b'chol dvar chokma umado. He said, like the Indian from the wisdom of Shlomo HaMelech, what it was derived down, it was revealed to him, a shefa, had he got a tremendous revelation, what he calls shefa, like a tremendous flow of divine wisdom. It came milmaila, chokma elyoina, b'chol dvar chokma umado, in all forms of knowledge and what you might call worldly knowledge. Mado means the idea almost of science. And so therefore we see that Shlomo was great in ordinary decisions and in Chochmah Samishpat and all those of them, like the famous story about the two women that they came with the child and each one claimed it was their child. You know the matter. And Shlomo HaMelech said, take a sword and cut it in half. And the whole amazing story there. So that's in Mador. We see that he was divinely blessed with divine wisdom, and he was meant to oil which just gave it all forth. He wasn't a kli; he was just a oil in which it all just flowed in the form of a matona, and therefore there was almost no limit to it. It just flowed. It was a matona. It was given milmaila through his etzem and nefesh into a gili which wasn't mugbo b'keili. Sheniten lo yachokma ho yoino. Be'ein ze k'moi shekosu kona chokma. It's not like it's written in the pasuk, kona in Mishnah. It's written kona chokma. That you have to purchase chokhmah. Knei chokhmah. You have to purchase it. There's a pasuk also in I think in Mishlei or in Koheles, that in all of your purchases, meaning your wisdom, what does that mean? You have to purchase or possess through a kinyan the chokhmah. You work with the keli, and you open your keli, and as much as the nefesh can give into a kli, no matter how high developed it is, that's where you progress, and that's all the union from Shem Hatoya, and that's Eino Chanami through Ishtadlus with the keli. The divine chokhmah was given down milmaila into Shloimei, shehoye meir etzloi gilui rav, gilui ribui chokhmah b'chol dover. In other words, it wasn't mukbal in a kli at all. It was a divine giving that just, that he called it, was meir, like a form of tremendous, bright and brilliant oil in all ways without the limitation of a kli. So Shem ha'etem shehu al Shem etem ha'oyer. In this particular case, well, that's the concept of the Shem ha'etem, that's referring to the oyer and not the kli. To the etem is colors of oyer, and in the case of Shloimeh, oyer milmaila. In the case of another chacham, it's oyer from the etem mokeh of seikel in the etem hanefesh. Over here it was a gila of the Eloki mamish milmaila. That Shloimeh was blessed, and we see that's what he asked for. He was given the choice by the Eibusher to ask for anything that he wanted, and he asked for Chochmah. So he was given Chochmah milmaila. The difference between the Moshel of Shloimeh and other great Chachamim of this sug is that to Shloimeh it was a direct gift milmaila mamish. In other words, that oyer that had no hagbolas, or that was really a direct revelation milmaila. V'hinei etzem ha'oyer im yoseh l'maila min hakli kanal shezeu l'maila mima shakli toifeses oyer de'askola shehi mitzad etzem ha'oyer harei heim b'chinas hafshota. What hafshota means abstractity and how they call it withdrawnness. Lo b'chinas is slapshus. In other words, Islapshus, Hafshota, almost like two opposite expressions. Islapshus means the ability to come down and enter into a limited kli. And Hafshota means the idea of higher and moved out from a kli. Lo b'chinas Islapshus, but tvisa b'kli, and they're not grasped by the kli. Mikol mokim, harei zeh shoyre b'hakli. It does dwell in the kli. U'mislabish bo, so here the Rebbe used the two inyonim which are almost slightly contrasting one to the other. He said that etzem ha'oyer, how it is mitzad the etzem koach chochmosei, nonetheless it does shoyre, what is well known, the Alter Rebbe in Tanya, in the Geras HaKodesh right near the end, I think it's in chapter 29. The Alter Rebbe of the difference between shoyre and mislabish. Mislabish means where the oil enters the kli and becomes lefi oifen hakli, and it's nitfas alidei the kli and mushpa alidei the kli. Ve'ilu inyan hashroa is that it's not really mulubish in the kli, but it's like present there, but it's not really betfisa b'slabshus, which means that even though it's there, it's not really nitfas alidei the kli, but it, as it were, gives a certain closeness and allows itself to be miskala there. And that's what he brings over there, that I'll call be'asara shchinta shadiyeh. When you got 10 people together and the shechina is there. So on the one hand, it's not bislapshus inside each person, but it's in that particular area where you got the 10 people, then there's a gila of the shechina which is not islapshus, and yet on the other hand, it's not makif either, it's an inyam from hashra. So therefore the Rebbe used that expression here, that the oil is shoyre in the kli, and then he says, umislabish bo. Shoyre and mislabish are almost like two contrasting terms. So we have to say that the hashroa is sort of a pneumistic hashroa. It does in some way enter the kli. Now later, we'll see a little bit more about that concept, how something can be in the kli b'derech shoyre, and yet nonetheless somehow react with the kli. He said that's dafki in the madrega haki pnimius of the kli. V'dafki kasher klei moichoi heim hakelim muchonim lekabel, when he's a chacham b'shem hatoya, that he's worked very hard with all of his kelim, and they're muchonim lekabel dahainu shakelim be'etzem husoim toivim heimo. Oz ma'ir behem oyer etzema chochma. Akamesh yoev chochma l'chachimen. So Pasuk in Daniel, we'll talk about that more in coming episodes. Well, here we're going to meet up with the fascinating idea between a union of the Etzem Oyer with the Shem HaToya, even Masuyam. And we're going to meet up with a famous concept called that Kli can be Metayer. It literally, describes or in some way pictures the Oyer in it, but that's not Mamish in Shalos Labshes. No, it's more the Sinyan of Etzem Oyer related to the Pnimius of the Kli. Good. Okay, so we'll see about that as we go along and further and developing episodes. Praise Hashem. Good. So we're getting done with Marv now in a few minutes.
Is this at all related to the Gashmius, to the Ruchnius, and the Ruchnius?
Yeah, it's got a certain cycles. But that was already more. That was already more. We're talking about Dinif and the Kli. How was the Shem HaToya? It was preparing itself to be able to be Makabel the Oyer. So this is really Lamaila Mizeh, but only after he's worked at that in a lot, then he can be safe to the stuff.
Is honestly is Nevuah, right? Is it Loshen Bina?